when I thought I was being emotionally stable, really I was drifting into instability because I wasn't allowing myself to get out of the hole of when I was playing bad that I can play better and believing that I can play better because I was so caught up in what could happen if I can't play any better. If I'm not good enough, maybe I shouldn't be here playing varsity, right?
Hello everyone, we are Greg and Jackie Francis, and welcome to High Performance Parenting, where our passionate goal is to encourage you to raise champion children in a crazy world. Every week we will bring you multiple episodes from our extensive experience of raising our six happy, healthy, successful, godly kids who are confidently equipped to win big in life.
We deeply believe that any parent who is provided with the right knowledge and continual support can raise amazing kids. And when they do, all of our futures get better. If raising up future generations of absolute champions matters to you as much as it does to us, here's how you can contribute. Like and share this podcast with everyone you know. And together, let's embrace this journey of raising champion kids in a crazy world. All right, everybody, we're in studio with my oldest triplets here, and I'm excited to share about this this last couple of months of sports. It's been a little whirlwind. It's been fun. Before we do that, we're in the fall season here. I do have a couple questions for you guys. One is, why did they let the turkey join the band?
Why?
Because he had his own drumsticks.
I feel like it was like something to do with the drumstick.
What happened to the turkey that got in a fight?
What?
He got the stuffing knocked out of him.
Oh, yeah. Yes, he did.
That is pretty good. All right, enough of the jokes. But so just catch everybody up, Abby, real quick about what the last 2 months has been. Tell them a little bit about your golf schedule and how it went. Just catch them up.
So wait, where do you want me to start from? Like a couple months back?
Yeah.
Or okay, so we started the golf season and practice. How it went from different golf courses from Banbury or Pierce Park, and it normally happened around 5:30ish. Started, and it had 4 days a week. We did it. Fridays were always off, which is nice because that's our family day. So either way, it worked out really nicely. And then we had matches along the way. I was brought up for some varsity matches. The girls were on varsity. Sometimes Chrissy was number 5, depending on where Emory was.
So there's 5 girls on varsity.
Yep, 5 girls on varsity.
5 girls on JV.
Yeah, but we had actually 6 technically JV girls. But then depending on certain scores, people could be like not playing for certain matches.
And they do it based on your scores. And so what happened for the most part was that you were basically at the top of JV.
Yep.
Really flirting with being one of the varsity people. And these 2 girls here, Bella and Chrissy, actually were on varsity, right? Yep. And then it turns into leading all the way up into districts and then state. But you play golf tournaments, and based on your score, they'll move you up or down up to a certain point, and then they kind of lock it in for the last 3 or 4 tournaments of the year or something like that. And so you guys had a little pressure on you, right?
Yeah.
Every single time you play, and you know that at any given time, if you don't play well, you could get bumped down to JV, or if you play well, you could get bumped up to varsity. And so that was pretty fun to deal with. Like how did you guys handle that? How did you handle the pressure of knowing that you could be bumped up or down at any time?
I think it was hard because I didn't really want to bump down my 2 sisters. I was like, I don't really feel like bumping them down. But then my mom told me Chrissy would definitely bump you down if she was on JV.
That's true, right?
I was like, oh, maybe then I should start trying to bump them down.
Well, or bump somebody else outside the family out, you know, right? What about you, Chris?
I honestly feel like going into the season, I didn't know what to expect. Last year, all 3 of us were the top 3 spots in JV, and I was kind of like solidified for the whole season. So this season, when things were kind of in limbo, like our coach didn't know which players she wanted to play for varsity, the pressure was kind of a whole new thing for me. Like I wasn't expecting being able to have the opportunity to play for varsity so often if I did play well. But the key words, if I did play well, was the main things that messed with me. So I feel like me always like priding myself on being more emotionally intelligent than other people. I wasn't so emotionally intelligent. I don't feel like I dealt with it as good as I could have. And it wasn't until I had a conversation with Dad that I got a wake up call and realized that the only reason I'm maybe not playing my best is because I'm not believing I can. And so when I finally started realizing that, I started playing a lot better and actually had my spot solidified as varsity player. But I feel like at first the pressure kind of came as a shocker, and I wasn't expecting it, so I didn't deal with it as good as I could have.
So what were some of the things that you were doing? Because I remember, you thought you were being emotionally strong, and I had to point out how much you were not. And you didn't start that way, but as the season was going on and like the pressure was building, you were allowing some emotionally unstable habits to develop. And so what were some of those things? Because I think it'll help people listening to point out like how do you define emotional stability when you're in a pressure situation? What does an emotionally unstable person do? What does an emotionally stable person do?
Right. So I feel like in the beginning of the season, in some previous rounds, I was really good about like, you have every single shot and it's just you with the ball laying there at your feet and you have the decision of how to hit it, right? So if I hit it well, I would be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. If I hit it bad, in the beginning of the season, would tend to just be like, okay, we're moving on to the next shot. I'm going to turn this around. I'm a good player, right? But as the season went on and the pressure built, I started not doing that as much. So like every time I hit a bad shot, I always be like, oh my gosh, what if I can't hit a better shot next time? What if this hole turns into, instead of a par, what if it turns into a double bogey? What will that do to my score? And then adding up, well, what if I score worse than I normally score? Then I'm going to get bumped down JV. But then what if next time I can't build myself up? So I just dig myself in this mental hole when really you just had one bad shot. And you could fix it on the next chip or putt or the next hole even. But like I started just allowing myself to think of the worst case scenario when how everything could build up in a way against me. Whereas as I started realizing to be more emotionally strong, you have to really take a breath between each hole and believe that you can do better, because if my brain doesn't think I can do it, then it's not going to have my body do it, right? So I'm like, when I thought I was being emotionally stable, really I was drifting into instability because I wasn't allowing myself to get out of the hole of when I was playing bad that I can play better and believing that I can play better, because I was so caught up in what could happen if I can't play any better, if I'm not good enough. Maybe I shouldn't be here playing varsity, right? Like all those kind of things that even applies to like other areas of life. Whenever I make a bad decision, I'm like, what if I can't rebound? What if this sets me back a couple weeks or things like that? Like, I just feel like I can see it in other areas of life also, but like making sure I'm rebounding quick and being the master of my mind, right? And making sure I'm controlling the thoughts going in. And that was a big thing that I had to fix.
And also, Chris, when you were like still dealing with like your emotional stuff, your scores were hurting because you weren't able to rebound really quickly when you had those bad ones. But once you locked it in, you locked yourself into varsity because of the attitude. That's how much of a switch it gave you. If you had dwelt in that, who knows where you would have been if you had been on JV or varsity for, because we had good competition that was right near our score. But the way that you handled that going into like the important part of the season, as it was coming really close of who's going to be chosen for what part, you got chosen for varsity because you chose to switch your mental attitude.
Yeah, you guys, I'm a fan of this book, that mindset is your superpower. And you guys should probably all pick this up. Simple, easy chapters, but there's a lot of really good, applicable thought process in here. The first one just talks about how everything is possible with the right mindset, but hardly anything's possible with the wrong one, and the easiest way to shift your mind from can't to can is to change the way that you personally talk to yourself. If you remember, I remember we had Coach Brad over last year during tennis, and you guys would be trying to do, I don't know, a serve or something, and you'd fault, and you'd get in the habit of being like, "That's horrible. That was awful." And he's like, "I wouldn't say that. Maybe you say something like, 'Wasn't my best. I got this.'" Right? It's little things, but they add up because you start convincing yourself that you are a horrible server, right? And you don't want that. But this one here though is a really big lesson I want you guys all to pick up, because golf is such a unique game. That's why we like it so much, because it does require a level of technical skill development. Your swing pattern, the club face control, It requires actually your weight shifting properly. The more you guys are getting better at golf, the more you realize there's a lot to becoming a good golfer. You gotta train your body to actually be able to move the way a golf swing needs it to move. So, and I think every one of you guys are realizing it won't just happen just because you hope it'll happen. Like, you got to put the hours in. You really got to put some energy towards it, but it's worth it. But then also you realize the other part outside of this, the physical technical part, is it's such a mental game. I mean, just everything you were describing is exactly the thing. Most people just don't articulate it like you do. They just deal with it internally, where I know who was I talking to? Oh, it was your one teammate's dad, right? And he was saying something about one of her rounds, and she was, like at par or better after 6 holes, and he was like, that's like the most terrifying place to be sometimes, right? And I'm like, okay, see, it's like a mindset thing, because now you're starting to think, oh my gosh, what if I like scored like a 75 today? This would be amazing. And then all of a sudden, what happens? Let's say you just like hit one in the trees off the tee box. Yeah. And now what's your brain do? Your brain, if you let it starts going into, what if I have a 10 on this hole? What if I had 6 pars in a row and then I double bogeyed the rest of the day and shot over 100? And if this is where you allow your brain to go, you're probably going to start playing pretty bad. So how do you control that? Well, even one of the things I saw a lot of you guys doing was just having that weird pressure of the JV versus varsity line. And you guys thought about it a lot. But one of the things that you need to focus on instead of the result is it's like just, so success, let's say, would be you get a low enough score. Well, what is some of your goals going to be? It's going to be like to try to get low 80s at least, right? This next year. Okay. So that's a result. That would be, success would be considered, I consistently hit 80 or better, let's say. Okay. It's good. You got to have some kind of target to work towards. But now you don't focus on necessarily that number. What you focus on more than the success, the result, is you focus on the process of excellence. Like, this is really important to get, because, when you're focusing on just practicing with excellence or playing with excellence each swing, you can control that. Yeah. You can't always control what the overall result is going to be. Does that make sense? And the more your brain focuses on the overall result, the less you'll pay attention to every swing excellence. Yeah. Right? And this kind of applies to anything, but it's really cool. You got to, in this book, he says, a lifetime of experience has taught him that placing too much attention on trying to be a success leads to unhealthy stress. Yeah. You guys remember the difference between eustress and distress? Do you guys remember? What's the difference, Chris?
Eustress is like a good kind of like desire to, like, when your brain shifts into like the eustress is like when you feel the pressure but you're ready to like use it for your advantage, right? But like distress is when it's like that bad kind of stress, like that knot in your stomach, like I can't do this, like my brain is panicking, right? But the eustress is a good kind of stress that puts you in a good position to succeed.
Yeah, so I remember one of our friends, Daniel, describing this, and he said that, like, for him, he's not a mechanical guy at all, right? And he said, if I'm driving down the road and I see an old lady broken down on the side of the road and she needs something in her car fixed, he says it instantly puts me into distress because I know nothing about cars, right? In other words, he's just like, I got to call somebody, I'm kind of getting nervous. It almost makes him almost like panic a little bit. But eustress would be, let's say one of my other guys, like my friend Chris from North Carolina, who's a mechanic, right? If he saw a lady on the side of the road that was broken down, he would go into eustress. Eustress is like, oh, this makes me jump into action, right? I know I can help. I know I can help. I know I can figure this out. So just think about like how probably, right now, depending on how you evaluate what next season is, you could jump into eustress or distress right now. Like I could see, Abby, this is one thing we're going to work on, right? I could see next year you're already, well, what if I get on JV again? What if my sister's getting on varsity? See, this is eustress. This makes you not even want to practice because it's overwhelming. It makes you kind of run away from it versus run to it. And you want to get to the point that you actually jump into eustress, which is actually, you know what? I'm going to make varsity next year. I am going to practice hard enough. I am going to focus on every single swing. I'm going to put that goal kind of out of my head, but I'm going to focus on my excellence every single day. And I was telling you guys, I went through ChatGPT and had it put together a training program for someone who wants to get down into, 80s or high 70s by within 10 months. And it had, like an hour to an hour and a half of training every single day. Right. And so again, that could be like eustress or distress. Right. And I think that one of the things was, I don't know, it's helpful for me to even understand the difference, because if there's a reason I'm going into into distress over something that I actually want to be good at, that means there's something going on in my brain that I got to fix. Right. That means that I'm a little too focused on what if I don't, or what if it doesn't work out in every move that I'm making. And I got to retrain my brain, because your brain is completely trainable. And you can go from, being a person who thinks like that to a person who's like, you know what, I'm going to focus on the process. I'm going to focus on excellence in my everyday habits. I'm going to focus on some routines. I'm going to focus on some actions, right? I'm not going to get caught up on the negative possibility down the road. And it says in here, excellence is a mindset. Excellence is an attitude. Excellence is about making progress. Excellence is about enjoying the journey. Commit to excellence. Make it your superpower. See, this is in the everyday. Kobe Bryant said this: the mindset isn't about the result. By the way, did Kobe get some good results? Okay, but he didn't. But listen, though, the mindset isn't about the result. It's more about the process of getting to that result. It's about the journey and the approach. It's a way of life. I do think that it's important in all endeavors to have that mentality. So, really good stuff. We'll continue in the next one. Hey everyone, thanks for listening and thanks for your love and support. We hope that today's episode added tremendous value to you and your family. It would mean so much to us if you would partner with us on our mission of helping parents around the globe raise champion children in this crazy world.
To do so, simply take a moment to like and share this podcast with everyone in your network. See you next time.